Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. I, 28 female, was raised in a household where the words fair and equal didn't exist unless they were being said about my older brother Daniel, 30 male. From the outside, we looked like your standard middle-class family. 2 kids, 2 parents, suburban home, weekend barbecues, a golden retriever named Max. But inside those walls, there was a silent, persistent message etched into everything. Daniel comes first. He was the miracle child, the only son, the heir to my father's imaginary throne. He could crash the car. Boys will be boys. Get expelled from school for cheating? He's gifted. School doesn't challenge him enough. Leave a string of girlfriends crying and emotionally destroyed. They just couldn't handle a man with ambition. And me, I was the girl, the afterthought, the one they dressed in frills and pearls, who was told repeatedly, "You'll marry well one day." But I wasn't interested in being someone's wife. I wanted to be someone's boss. So I started building my escape early. At 16, while Daniel was busy crashing my dad's car and spending weekends gaming in the basement, I was working at a local diner after school, then babysitting on Saturdays, tutoring kids in English and math in between. Every cent I earned went straight into a savings account. I lived frugally. I didn't eat out. I skipped trends. My goal was simple: get out and never look back. And then there was my grandmother, my mom's mother, an old-school Lithuanian widow who wore vintage brooches and red lipstick even on cleaning days. She saw how I was treated. She was always quiet about it, but she never missed a beat. Every time I saw her, she slipped me envelopes of money. Sometimes 100 euros, sometimes more. By the time I was 22, I had saved nearly 70,000 euros. That money came from sweat, planning, and quiet help from the only adult who ever truly had my back. My dream was to use it for grad school and eventually launch my own business, a digital marketing agency focused on female-led startups and small businesses. I already had freelance clients. I was ready, until my parents took everything. It was winter break. I had just come home from university, excited to see my grandmother and catch up on work. I stopped by the bank to get a new debit card because I had lost mine. I was told my account was empty, not low, not partially withdrawn. Empty. At first I thought it was a mistake, a glitch, some kind of internal error. But no. When I got home, shaking and furious, my parents sat me down like it was a goddamn intervention. "We used the money," my mother said flatly, "for Daniel." He had come up with an idea for a startup, a finance wellness app for the modern generation, whatever that meant. He had no background in tech, business, or finance, but he had vision. They thought I'd understand once I saw the potential. I couldn't breathe. My mouth went dry. I remember looking at my mother and thinking, "You birthed me, and you stole from me." I screamed. I cried. I threatened to report them. But what good would that do? I was their daughter, living under their roof, and legally, the system would find a way to sweep it under the rug. Daniel's response: "I'll pay you back when the company takes off. You should be proud you helped get it started, like I should be grateful to have been robbed." I deferred grad school. I stopped dreaming. I worked. I worked like my life depended on it. Because it did. I went back to waitressing. I took on every freelance marketing gig I could find. I edited blog posts at 2 a.m., built websites, created pitch decks for startups, attended every networking event I could, even if it meant sleeping 4 hours a night. 2 years later, I launched my agency, from my apartment. No investors, no safety net, no family help. And it worked. Hard work pays off. We built campaigns that went viral, ran influencer launches that made 6 figures in a weekend, helped underdog brands scale into 7-figure businesses. I hired a team, bought a car, then an apartment. My grandmother cried the day I took her to my office and showed her the plaque with her name etched in gold. Daniel's startup? Let's just say it didn't go as planned. He got investors, mostly family friends and my parents' savings. He leased a shiny office, hired buddies with no experience, and spent more time on branding than the actual platform. He posted motivational quotes on LinkedIn and strutted around as a CEO, while funneling money into weekend Ibiza trips and overpriced gadgets. And then, shocker, it crumbled. Investors pulled out. His co-founder sued him for misappropriation of funds. The team quit. The platform crashed. Users complained. Reviews tanked. Eventually, the company filed for bankruptcy. And guess what? My parents were stunned. They acted like it was some great injustice, as if life had betrayed their son, not the fact that he had the business acumen of a banana peel. I was at a conference in Milan when I received an email from an old contact, a bankruptcy administrator I'd worked with before. He casually mentioned Daniel's company in a list of tech assets being liquidated. I asked for more details. Everything was for sale, so I bought it, legally. It wasn't revenge, not at first. I realized this company, despite its failure, had potential. The framework was smart. The problem it tried to solve was real. It just needed actual business skills, leadership, discipline. So I rebuilt it, rebranded it, integrated it with my agency's existing ecosystem, hired a small team, polished the UX, launched a content series. By month 4, it was breaking even. By month 7, it was profitable. 3 months after the relaunch, I got a knock at my apartment. It was Daniel. Behind him were my parents. Daniel had been unemployed for months. His name was mud in the tech scene. No one wanted to invest in him again. And my parents? They were financially drained. My mom had taken a part-time job at a florist. My dad was fighting early retirement. They sat down. My mom brought out a tin of cookies, as if sugar would soften what was coming. "We were wondering," my dad started, "if you could help Daniel. Maybe bring him on board. Give him a second chance," my mother chimed in. "You're successful now, sweetheart. And he's your brother." I looked at Daniel. He couldn't even meet my eyes. Then I said calmly, "I already helped him." They blinked. I continued, "I bought the company. Out of bankruptcy. I own it." Now my mom went white. My dad leaned forward. "You, what?" Daniel stood up. "You stole it?" I laughed. "I bought it, Daniel." "You ran it into the ground." "I salvaged what was left." He lost it. He accused me of betrayal, of waiting for him to fail, of taking advantage of a bad moment. "You were supposed to help me save it, not steal it." I stood. "You stole from me first. Remember that? You drained my savings. You ruined my future. And now that I've built something out of your mess, you think I owe you more?" My mom started crying. "But he's your brother," I snapped, "and I was your daughter." "But that didn't stop you from robbing me blind, did it?" They left in a storm of tears and slammed doors. My grandmother, well, bless her, is the only one who stood by me. She sent me flowers the next day with a note that simply said, "My lioness." They made their bed. Daniel tried to launch a smear campaign. Said I stole his legacy, that I was profiting off his genius. But no one took him seriously. Because geniuses don't bankrupt startups in 2 years while partying in Ibiza. And women who build empires from scratch. We don't owe anyone anything. So, Reddit. Am I the asshole for refusing to help my brother save his company, and instead buying it from bankruptcy? Not the a-hole. They didn't just steal OP's savings. They stole OP's dreams, her education, her years. And when it blew up in their faces, they came crawling back like she was their backup plan. OP didn't steal anything. OP rescued what was salvageable and built something meaningful. OP's brother ran his company like a trust fund party, and OP cleaned up the mess like a real CEO. OP doesn't owe them a damn thing. And now let's hear community's opinion. The level of restraint you showed is unreal. If my parents robbed me and handed my money to my freeloading brother, I wouldn't have just bought the company. I would have renamed it Stolen From Me Incorporated and sent them monthly newsletters on its growth. Not the a-hole. You didn't destroy Daniel's company. His ego and entitlement did. You simply capitalized on the opportunity like the badass businesswoman you are. Let's be real. If you were a man, they would have called you a shrewd entrepreneur. But because you're a woman, they're calling you cold and vindictive. That's not just hypocrisy. It's misogyny dressed up as family loyalty. You didn't climb over your brother. You rose from the ashes they buried you in. Not the a-hole, and congratulations on turning betrayal into a billion-dollar mindset.
Basically, earlier this year, she, 37 female, came out as a lesbian to me, 37 male, and we divorced after being together 11 years. It really sucked. And even though we've remained sort of friends because we share our dog together who's 10, I do find it hard. Because she's been in my life for so long, she's remained on good terms with my family, especially my folks, who see her as a daughter-in-law still. If we were still together, we'd have spent Christmas together with my parents. But as we're not, I was just planning to spend it with them on my own. I was talking to her a couple of days ago and mentioned that I was looking forward to my mom's Christmas dinner, and she said she was too. She assumed she's still coming, especially as her family have effectively disowned her for being gay. She doesn't really have anywhere else to go. My mom told her when we split up she's still welcome there anytime, especially Christmas. I told her I don't want her to come. It's a bit too weird to me to spend Christmas with her after all that's gone down, and would rather just have it as family only. She got really upset about it and said she didn't have anywhere else to go, and otherwise it would just be her and the dog. We agreed he'd be with her this Christmas and alternated. I said no still, and she started crying and I hung up. Obviously, I don't want to upset anyone, so think I could be an a-hole for that. I mean, she does have a girlfriend. I don't see why they can't spend time together. I told my mom today, and she was really angry. She said that I didn't have the right to disinvite anyone and shouldn't be so mean at Christmas. I told her she's my ex. If I don't want to see anyone, then I shouldn't have to. She said she is in two minds whether to just invite her anyway, and if I don't like it, then I can not come myself. I don't know. I don't think I'm an a-hole for not wanting to see her, but maybe I could have handled it better. Am I the a-hole? Edit. So I've made a decision and rang my mom about it. I'm not going. She's told me she's re-invited my ex anyway, so I've said to avoid being awkward, I won't go myself and she can go. My mom practically begged me to reconsider, but I said it's my decision. I've also told my ex that if she's going there, I'm having the dog this Christmas, so I'm not on my own Christmas Day. She also tried to get me to reconsider, but I'm ignoring it now. Further edit. I asked her when I just spoke to her about spending it with her girlfriend. Apparently, she's currently self-isolating, so she can't see her. Not the a-hole. Ex-wife doesn't get to share your family still. Make it very clear to your parents. They're welcome to invite her, but if you show up and she's there, you're leaving and not doing anything with them over the holidays. Not the a-hole. As if you need that reminder on Christmas. If your mom wants to see her, she can meet her another day. Super weird of your ex to assume she can still come, considering she already has a new partner. Maybe she wants to bring her too. What the duck? Edit. Wow, thank you for the award too. I'm still very new on Reddit, but absolutely loving it. Hope the OP does not have a terrible Christmas after all though. Dude, not the a-hole. And it's time for you to consider whether you've only been divorced by your wife. That is so harsh of your family and so thoughtless of your wife. I feel for you. OP's family has essentially chosen his ex over him. Mom made it clear she was inviting X no matter what. And if he didn't like it, he could not come. It's crazy how everyone is trying to act like things are peachy and normal at the expense of OP. It's like no one is really considering his feelings at all. His world has recently been twisted around, and he's seemingly expected to act like things are perfectly fine. There is a long history regarding this necklace. It is an opera-length necklace my great-grandfather purchased for my great-grandmother when they were in England in the early 1930s. They were quite wealthy, but lost everything because of the Depression and war, and the necklace is pretty much all I have of their legacy. I have never gotten along with my daughter-in-law. She has been a continuous pain in my side since the day she sauntered into my life, and she has done a spectacular job of turning my son against me. The only thing she has done to benefit me is give me my beautiful grandchildren, but we are on what she calls limited contact, because I feel it's a grandparent's job to spoil the grandchildren, and she won't allow it. I know for certain my daughter-in-law is a gold digger because she continuously compliments me on the things that me and my late husband bought. our home for example, and derides me for the way I spend money with my live-in. But I can tell from her tone of voice, it's a grabby type of compliment and not genuine. Of course, one of the things she wants is the necklace. Against my better judgment, I let her borrow it once, and she could not stop talking about how it made her outfit, and the most phony thank you I've ever heard from a person. I vowed with my live-in that day she would never get the necklace. I am planning on giving it to a friend's daughter-in-law, who is much more loving and gracious than the disaster my son decided to marry. My son is furious with me. He thinks I'm giving away a family legacy, and the worst that's going to happen is my granddaughter is going to get it. What he doesn't see is that my daughter-in-law is going to sell it for scrap the second my back is turned. My son accuses me of being ridiculous, but I just don't see it like that. No matter what, it's my necklace, and I can do what I want with it. But before I officially turn it over, I would like to get a neutral opinion. You're the a-hole. Your daughter-in-law may be awful, or she may not be. You, on the other hand, appear to be just oozing bitterness and seeking to hurt. Even the supposed egregious actions of your daughter-in-law are subjective, and the description obviously colored by your hate. It's hard to know if she's really awful, or if you just see bad things in every normal thing she does. If you had another family member you wanted to leave the necklace to, that would make a lot of sense. But your reasons for not passing it along appear solely to be nasty. If you keep acting like this, even if your daughter-in-law is awful, you will turn your son against you by your own actions. You're the a-hole. The things you have mentioned here to illustrate the vileness of your daughter-in-law amount to 1. Compliments. Compliments you've chosen to take in the worst way possible, but compliments. 2. Her insistence on drawing and maintaining appropriate boundaries. Your son's support of her in doing this. 3. She doesn't like your boyfriend and doesn't do a good job hiding it. Okay, fine. But you seem to think your son should have no negative feelings about you when you're dripping with hatred for his choice of partner. So this is just hypocritical. Everything about what you have written here comes off as wildly out of touch with reality, and it's incredibly cruel to let your negativity about this woman prevent your granddaughter from having this beautiful and meaningful connection to her great-great-grandmother. Your son is right. You are wrong. You need therapy, or at the very least, a friend who's willing to tell you the truth when you don't want to hear it. You're the a-hole. Technically, it's your necklace, but it's also a family heirloom. Wait to give it to your granddaughter when she's old enough. You come across pretty hostile toward your daughter-in-law without any specific incidences of her being a bad person. It's all just generalizations that boil down to a bad vibe, and you condemning every action she takes. If you want to see your beautiful grandkids more, you should follow her rules. No spoiling. I, 33 female, live with my brother, 32 male, and his new wife, 34 female. Things have been fine to a point, and I definitely appreciate them taking me in during my time of need. That is not lost on me. I recognize they did not have to help me, and I am incredibly thankful that they have done that. But my sister-in-law has baby fever, and she is talking about trying to get pregnant. First of all, I know my brother had the snip after his divorce from his first wife. He would have to have the procedure reversed, and his insurance will not cover it. And to be frank, they cannot afford that. Part of why they allowed me to move in is because they are in financial trouble, and I am contributing quite a lot of money to bills right now. I cover probably 2/3 of all the bills because my sister-in-law doesn't work, and my brother pays ungodly amount of child support to his ex-wife. The financial issues can go ahead and be another point in the situation. My sister-in-law can also barely take care of herself. She sleeps most of the day. She does not clean. She does not cook. She doesn't take care of the child she already has. Her daughter is 6 years old, and she doesn't even interact with her unless she has to. That is a totally separate issue. I've become a live-in maid and nanny on top of working 45 or more hours a week. My sister-in-law lost custody of her other child about 2 years ago. He is 11 and living with family. I do not know why she even lost custody, but he says he was treated badly. She did not fight to get him back. 2 days ago, my brother told me he has an appointment to meet with his doc to discuss the reversal, so him and sister-in-law can try for a baby. I told them they were out of their minds. It got explosive, and I finally asked who was going to take care of a baby when my brother works full-time, I work full-time, and she constantly makes excuses to not even do basic crap around the house, like take the dog outside. She really had the nerve to tell me, "I thought you could handle them when you get off work before brother gets home, so the load is evenly distributed." I blew up. I told her I am not going to be a parent to another one of her kids, and that if they really do this, then I'm totally done, and they are on their own. I told my brother I would always love him and help him if he needs me, but that I would never talk to sister-in-law and make sure the rest of the family disowns her too. I think I was probably the a-hole for saying that the way I did. She started crying and locked herself in the bathroom. My brother is threatening to kick me out, and again, I might be the a-hole for this. I told him he can't afford to kick me out, and he can't afford a replacement maid or nanny like I've been. I told my mom about what happened, and she not only thinks I'm not the a-hole, but is now mad at my brother. Our dad, however, said I am the a-hole because it isn't my place to say anything about my brother's decisions. So, am I the a-hole? I was fully prepared going into this to say you were the a-hole, but after reading it, not the a-hole. Your dad's right, it shouldn't be your business. But they made it that way because they're including you in their child care plans. If she wants another child so bad, why not work at getting the child she already has and lost custody of back? You need to get out of this living situation and detangle yourself from them. Before your brother can kick you out, find yourself a tiny apartment so you can watch the inevitable disasters from a safe distance. Not the a-hole, but get out now. You're already paying and working far too much for this household, and you're enabling a lazy parent. Without you, their dumb marriage will hopefully implode before he gets his vasectomy reversed. Normally, it's their business, and it has nothing to do with you. However, you pay 2/3 of the bills. Sister-in-law is a stay-at-home mom, without doing the household chores nor taking care of the one kid she still has living with you. She lost custody of a child, and she can't be bothered to walk the dog, a living creature which depends on its owners. It would be foolish to willingly add another kid into this equation, as long as sister-in-law can't act responsible and they both haven't got their financial situation in order and won't have to rely on you anymore. Not the a-hole. My in-laws are gift crazy. Everyone gets a gift for every single birthday, life event, mini holiday, etc. Additionally, there are like 15 little kids between his siblings, and they give gifts for like every moment of their lives. Starting school year, Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day, end of school year, birthdays. 2 weeks ago, one of the nieces turned 18. We sent a card. Mother-in-law called and started asking questions about if we were doing okay financially. I thought that was weird and inappropriate, and asked her what she was getting at. She was like, "You're constantly talking about trips you're going on. You post all the pictures of all the fabric and yarn you buy. I'm just wondering why you can't send your nieces and nephews a measly $100 for their birthday, and then some for Christmas. It's the least you could do." I was honestly shocked, because what I was hearing was that we're expected to send $100 for every single holiday. I asked her if that's what she meant, because that was a lot of money. And she was like, "Well, I don't see what the big deal is. They're your family." I started to say that maybe she should talk to my husband, but she was like, "Well, I'm talking to you right now, and quite frankly, I don't understand this me attitude." At this point, I was ready to just get off the phone. So I said, "You're getting angry at me because I didn't buy an adult a birthday present. You need to grow up and get over yourself. I'm done talking about this." I hung up and put my phone on silent. She took the whole mess to Facebook, where she framed it as an innocent question. How would you feel if your son and daughter-in-law decided they no longer wanted to do simple things like send birthday presents and come visit for holidays? Would you feel heartbroken and abandoned to have them say, "Grow up and get over it"? When does a mother get over feeling rejected by her child? I texted it to my husband, and he said he'd handle it. When he got home, he said that he called her and she ripped into him. Everything came up. That we live on the other side of the country and don't visit. He never calls her. I'm cold to everyone. For the record, my family does like occasional birthday or Christmas gifts. We stopped making a big fuss years ago. Also, the trips she makes a big deal out of, those are camping trips we take to areas around our state. Not the a-hole. She was a major a-hole for taking it public, commenting on your financial status, and also expecting hundreds, thousands of dollars of gifts a year. Not the a-hole. It's called a gift, not an obligation for a reason. No, the real issue here is that she is unhappy with your arrangement, where you're living, etc., and feels that she somehow has a right to say, which she doesn't. Personally, I find a card to be very considerate. It says that you're thinking about them. The expectation of a gift is just greedy also. Mild everyone sucks here. Your husband's family makes a big deal about presents. Surely you knew this before the blow-up. So it shouldn't have been a surprise to you that this would be an issue. Different families do things differently. It does not make them childish. She was out of line, though, commenting on your financial status. My daughter-in-law, Katie, is currently 37 weeks pregnant with my first grandchild, a baby girl. I really love Katie. Her and my son have been together about 6 years now, and I have a good relationship with her. But we've recently come to a head on this discussion. Due to virus, the hospital Katie plans on delivering her baby in has a one birthing partner limit, and instead of choosing my son, she chose her mother. My son claims that they had a discussion about it, and he was okay with it. But I think it's completely inconsiderate of Katie to deprive my son of this incredible experience. Sure, her mother is her support system, but so is my son. Katie is also an extremely insecure girl, and has said she doesn't want my son seeing her in that much pain and discomfort, which, having 3 babies myself, I do understand. But I do not think it's a good enough reason to not let my son see his baby being born. It's his baby just as much as hers. They come around to my house for dinner once a week, usually on a Wednesday. So last night, my son got up to go to the bathroom, so I decided to have a quick word with Katie. I wasn't pushy. I just suggested that she should have my son in the delivery room instead of her mother, as it was his right to be there. She said they'd agreed between themselves that it was okay, but I know my son and I just can't imagine him being okay with that. I asked her why she didn't want my son in the room, and she explained why, her insecurities, etc. And I told her she was being idiotic. For someone soon to be a mother, she sure is childish. She shouted for my son, and my son was furious with me, telling me that he was okay with whatever Katie wanted, and that he'd only be sitting outside. He'd get to see his daughter straight away. I said that wasn't good enough, and he said that if I kept this up, I wouldn't be seeing my granddaughter at all, which is just ludicrous. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. She's the one passing the human out of her body. She's the one that decides who is in the room with her. You're the a-hole. Oh my God, you are so the jerk. This is not your business. It is Katie's decision, and your son is okay with it. So butt out, Granny. And stop insulting your daughter-in-law. Some women, myself included, do not wish to be watched during labor. There's nothing wrong with that. You're the a-hole. You're a manipulator. You waited until your son was away from his wife, and then attempted to strong-arm her into complying with your wishes. To make matters even worse, you targeted a pregnant woman who is already in a vulnerable state due to hormones, etc. I doubt this is the first time you've done something like this, as your son threatened no contact. Be better.